Joined by head coach and general manager of the Vernon Vipers, Jason McKee. Jason, it's the first time that we've caught up since really, the Game 5 win in Wenatchee. Since then, everything's sort of gone a little sideways, and there have been some things going on where nobody has a manual with how best to do it. But glad to catch up with you. Maybe do a season in review, if you will, and how your first season in Vernon.
Yeah, it was good. I really enjoyed my time there so far. And, anytime you go somewhere new, there's going to be a natural transition. And I think that was for me personally. And then obviously the players as well. And then our relationships as well. So everything was new for everyone. And in doing that as a coach, all the systems, all the day-to-day stuff, probably changed for a lot of kids. So it takes time for that to gel. And I've learned over the years that it's not going to happen overnight. And, I think I'll be better for it. The players will be better for it here going into year two. I just think it's everyone's a little bit more together on things. Even just language that we use for, different things that we talk about during the year. The returning players are already going to know that language. And, I think in comparing, last year to this year, that's going to be the biggest thing, is that we're going to have some returning guys that understand, what we're talking about and, where we're going with it. So just because of that history, it should give us a bit of a better start here, hopefully going into next season. But, it was a good year. There was times where our team was a little inconsistent, and we're well aware of that. But there was times we were really good too. So we just want to have a little bit more consistent approach, hopefully, in our games. That being said, I really liked where our team got to. There was a lot of things that, players individually were, having to work through. And you might not have saw that on the ice, but, there was a lot of things that a lot of different players were having to work through. And we were able to kind of overcome that and, as a group, and support each other and, really play our best hockey when it mattered the most. And, I was super proud of the guys that, we were able to maybe block out some outside noise going into the playoffs, really focus in on our roles and our identity of how we wanted to play. And I thought the camaraderie that we grew throughout the year because of, some adversity that we went through, really paid dividends in the playoffs. And we got off to a good start. And even losing game 2, our effort the next night was fantastic. And even through the series, there was no drop in that. And real good emotional investment from our whole group and what we were trying to accomplish. So it's tough because there's no end point after that. And I thought, a lot of teams will talk about playing your best hockey when it matters the most. And I truly believe if, you followed our team, we were clearly at our best when it mattered the most. So, from that point, no one will ever know at this point, but I am confident in saying that we were playing our best hockey, and we were going to be a tough out, continuing on through the season.
With the way it ended, I mean, it sort of ends on a Thursday. You're slated to go against the V's the next day in a revival of a rivalry that is, unprecedented in the BCHL. What sort of processes when you sort of learn the news that this was going to happen? I mean, I imagine a lot of heartache and a lot of disappointment, probably some tears, but with no manual of really how to relate or project that to the players or yourselves or the staff. What was that timeline like? It seemed like everybody all of a sudden was gone within 48 hours. It's a hard thing to process.
Yeah, it was very difficult. We had a good practice going into that week. We knew our opponents. We were preparing all week. We were excited. And then, a day before you kind of get the news, and then it, becomes official the next day. So you go from being at an emotional high of going into the second round against a big rival and to having nothing. And that was really hard for everyone. And there's been tough conversations over the years with teams and players, but that would have to be right up there of sitting down with a group of 23 guys and having to try to make sense of what was happening in the world and why it was happening was very difficult. And to be honest, it wasn't a long speech because there wasn't really a lot that I could say that was going to make them feel any better. And, the individual meetings after were probably the hardest because, that's where you saw a lot of emotions come out from a lot of different players, especially your older players. And, being a former player, you want to have a a finish to your season, especially as a 20-year-old, and whatever that finish may be. And it brings closure. And with this, there was no closure. And like I said earlier, there was a strong belief in our group at that time. And that's what made it really hard. Cause like I said, I really felt like we were hitting our stride, and, it was really hard. It was tough on everyone, including yourself. We all felt it. We all saw it, ownership, fans, sponsors, billets, coaching staff, players. You go down the list, everyone, has an emotional investment in the group in Vernon, and it wasn't easy for anyone.
Interesting that, the way it goes, everything's gone. But the 20-year-olds, I mean, a bright spot right out of that is every 20-year-old moved on to a good level of hockey. It was great that we were able to do those announcements. Connor Merritt was going to North Michigan. That was a slam dunk. But for some of the guys who had Western League experience, it's not a slam dunk that they'll go to good programs. How gratifying was it to see those guys, specifically the ones that had that season end abruptly, to see them move on to big post-junior establishments so they could carry on their futures?
Yeah, I think for me as a coach and general manager, I make a commitment to every player that if they want to continue their hockey career when they sign up with us, is that, it's my job to make sure that, I can help them find somewhere that's going to be a good fit for them, whether it's minor pro, college, Canadian university, American university, Europe, whatever it may be. I think it's an obligation of mine to make sure that I'm helping these guys do that. And, I was really excited to see all of our guys, continue that path. And I think it sets a good precedence for us moving forward as well, that, if you come to Vernon, your hockey career is going to be looked after, and make sure that, we're doing our stuff, our job behind the scenes to help our players. And I think that's a big part of it. And, I want to promote our guys. It's not about me not getting these guys to the next level and keeping them for next year. I think that's the wrong philosophy. I think, if you're going to, have good young players, you've got to be promoting them and making sure that they're getting opportunities. And we're going to, start that process. This is, my first real, full year in the recruiting part of it. And I think we've got some good young players coming in. And even last year, our returning guys, now it's a smaller core, but we're going to build from that, and use those players. And then obviously our new guys this year, and we'll be a younger team, but younger doesn't mean not as good. And I think that's what I hope people understand is in my philosophy is, age is a number. It gives you some experience, but there's a lot of real good young players too. And I think you got to surround those guys with good leadership and veteran players. So like I said, we're probably going to be a little bit on the younger side next year, but expectations aren't going to dip because of that. I think, we still want to continue to push for a championship every single year. And, going back to the 20s, they left it in a good spot. Connor Merritt was an exceptional captain for us, been part of the program for 3 years. And, with me coming in, obviously, he was open to things and really, did a great job of leading our team. And, he was going to Northern, which was great to see. But, Connor Sleeth is moving on to play college hockey, and Landon Fuller is going to stay in BC and play college hockey, which is great. Matt Kowalski's heading out east, which is fantastic. I'm not sure, how many, fans know, but Matt is a tremendous student as well, not only a hockey player. So, he was able to get set up in an engineering course, which was really important to him. So, really happy to see that. And then, obviously our two additions this year that I was able to make, in Jackson Collar and Dawson Holt, were huge parts of our team on the ice. And then, off the ice as well, of just bringing a calming influence to our group. Some guys I had some experience with, and, adding those two guys really made us a better team. So when you look at, all six of our 20s, they were real good impact guys in different ways too. And it's not just about, points. There's lots of things that go on. Our PK was solid all year, and Landon Fuller and Connor Sleeth, those guys like that, their numbers may not have been the highest, but, their value to our team was just as equal as anybody else. So you don't want to always have the same player. And I think we had a good mix there. They were a good group for us. And when it mattered the most, they were at their best, and they really carried us in that first round. And super excited for them to continue their playing career, and at some great, universities, and, look forward to following them as, their careers progress.
It's always a fun time of year when teams start to announce commitments, and for this group, including as we sort of chat 9 to 10 different recruits, but not everybody realizes that the recruitment process isn't just now or a month or two ago. The recruitment process starts, correct me if I'm wrong, January, February. So lots of young recruits being announced. Walk us through what the recruitment process was like, and the direction that this group wanted to go with 17 and 18-year-old kids who have very high potential ceilings.
Yeah, I think that's a big part of it. Just with our turnover from last year, I think 2 years ago they had a really good run, but that core moved on. So we wanted to make sure that we gave the returning players a chance to continue to play and give them every opportunity to win. And I thought in the end, like I said, they really did that. And that group now has kind of graduated on, and obviously. For us, it's kind of I won't say a restart, but it's just with only 5 or 6 returning guys, you're going to have to replace them. And I think we've been doing that. And yeah, you're 100% right. And the recruiting doesn't just happen in May or April. I think if you start then, you're way behind. I think the top guys are going to be gone. Recruiting, I won't say is a full year thing, but it's as early as September in your camps, where you bring guys back for affiliates. You work just constant communication throughout October, November, and then once the new year starts, like you said, January, that's really when a lot of the heavy lifting is done. And a lot of these things are done before our season even ends. So there's a lot that goes into it nowadays. There's no question recruiting has changed over the years, and to think that you're going to be able to pick up a phone and call somebody in May is probably unrealistic nowadays. So you have to change with the times, and it's good. Parents are aware, they ask good questions. The players are more educated now than they've ever been, and I think it just brings when they make their decision, I think they feel like they're making a good decision, as do we. And I think it's a great way to start building relationships early before you even see them at the rink, because you've had so many conversations with these players before.
With them being spread out all over, you've got some kids from the United States and from Alberta. What sort of tracking system were you able to use? Have you seen some of these guys in person a couple of times? Some of the numbers and doing the releases that we have. Some pretty impressive looking talent coming in for next year and trying to work for a shot.
Yeah, and there's obviously high expectations for them coming in, as for all of them. And I think my hope is that they all come in and can bring the strengths of their game to help our group overall, and team success will breed individual opportunity. And I think that's what we're really striving for. And these kids will grow together. They'll make some mistakes together, but they're going to grow together. And I think that's the thing that I was looking at. And yeah, we were able to watch some guys live more than others. We were able to use some video with certain guys as well. A lot of it, some of it is through, scouting or bird dogs or guys that you have relationships with. So there's a lot of different things to go into it. You get pointed in a certain direction, and sometimes it ends in a good note. And sometimes there's other teams that are ran by good organizations, and certain players go a certain way for certain reasons. So there's no guarantees anymore. I think, I think the biggest thing is the league has evolved. And there's a lot of good people running a lot of good organizations in the BCHL, and I think that's what makes the BCHL such a great league. And so it's a very competitive environment for players for all teams. So like I said, it goes back to it's a thing that takes a lot of time, a lot of months, and it's not a one or two thing anymore. So it's we look forward to this group. I think it's got a good mix. We were able to kind of recruit for what you need, and we don't want to over recruit. We want to make sure that we are able to home grow these guys, bring them in and let them organically get better over the years, and ultimately reach their goal of moving on to the next level. So we think these guys have a lot of potential as a group, and they're going to be young. They'll make some mistakes early, but they have a high ceiling, which allows them to improve quickly as well. And I'm excited about that part of the youth of our group going forward. We'll definitely surround these guys with some older players, and that's the general manager side of the job as well, is to make sure that we surround these guys with some older guys. And, like I said, it shouldn't change the expectation of what we want to do. We want to be a very competitive, fight to the end for a championship. And that's always got to be the goal. And, but, just with the makeup of our team this year, we are going to be a little bit younger, but that doesn't give us an excuse not to be a competitive group. And I fully expect the youth and exuberance of our group to come to the forefront and make us ultra competitive.
Finally, before we let you go, Jason, obviously with things being sort of up in the air, a year ago today, you probably had a good idea of what the processes were going to look like over the next couple of months, and some of the responsibilities that you and the rest of the coaching staff and the players themselves had to do in order to get ready. What's the dialogue like with the guys that you've expected to return? Obviously with a couple of plans in places, but nothing cemented in stone as to what's going to happen. How does that change your dynamic going through the summer in terms of making sure when the time comes and everybody's allowed to go back to where they need to be, that they're ready to go?
Yeah, it's tough. For me, and I'll be the first to admit, I'm a planner, organized guy. I like to have a plan in place. And, each month, each week, we go through what we need to make sure we're ready for, the start of the season. So that's definitely been adjusted for sure. And we got to be flexible here as a staff and players, and they're doing what they can, with what they have. And I think that's all I could ask early. I think with some things opening up now, they're able to do maybe some more traditional training that they've done in the past, and we still have time here. And I think, if things keep going in the right direction, hopefully even more things open up, which will give them that opportunity to get on the ice more, maybe get in a few more competitive situations if possible, if the health authorities allow it. But, at this point, I don't think anyone has all the answers. We're hopeful. We have a plan in place of how we want to execute this, of, when our players are coming in and when we're going to start. The league has done a fantastic job of, navigating the teams through, this tough time, and they're well prepared as well. And can't say enough good things about the leadership of our league and how they've approached it, and the governors. So we're excited as a group that, things are going to move forward here, and we're going to get that September start, and, have games starting in October. So we'll adjust accordingly, but, there's plans in place for sure. And I definitely, fully expect us to have our group together in September. Now, what does that main camp look like? Probably much different than it normally would, for sure. It'll probably be a much smaller group, probably 25 to 30 guys. And then we'll just kind of almost treat it like a college program where you start, practicing right away. So that being said, anything is adjustable still at this point, but that's kind of our tentative plan right now to approach it, and gives us a full month as well. Some of these guys won't have access to what they normally would have through the summer. So it gives us some extra time to maybe get any rust off, the conditioning where it needs to be. And quite frankly, with a younger group coming in, it gives me time as a coach, a little more preparation time to prepare them for the start of the season.
Jason, we really appreciate the time. Thank you very much for this. And I'm sure we'll do it again sometime in and around training camp.
All right. Well, thanks for having me.